Hi Vic, welcome back to Tech with TV. Continuing the further discussion after AR, the buzzword is VR. Alright, so a very simple question, how do you start with AR explaining something if VR enters into Hollywood or any cinematic industry, how do you train it? Do we have any examples in this section of business?
Yeah, we have interesting development very recently happening. You must have heard of Star Wars. I mean, obviously you have heard of Star Wars. And there's this series known as Mandalorian, and they have been using VR, AR, or a mixture of VR and AR to record whatever they are doing in camera itself. So what happens is you have, instead of having green screens, you have LED screens behind the actors, and then the actors do the acting and everything, and it gets recorded in the frame itself. So that is a great example of Hollywood or Bollywood, or rather cinematics entering into VR universe, right?
So that's quite interesting to know that VR is already existing into space of space, where we shoot a lot of videos and all. That's quite interesting. But if we take it Mandalorian as an example, so you were trying to say that the few action which happens in the movie that have been taken in VR shots or some other, they have this green cloth and all. What is the layman term to understand this?
Right. So in a very simple terms, green screen is basically replaced in post-production. So it adds one step in cinematics. So you get a frame, you record a frame in camera, and then you have green screen which is removed. And it is a tedious process, to be honest. What VR is doing is you can pre-process, or at least pre-viz, it is known as pre-viz, pre-visualize the shot, and then see the shot in camera itself. So it's eliminating the need of green screening and doing any post-production. You just get the shot right out of the camera directly.
So are you trying to say in the future there will be no jobs for video editors by any chance?
Yeah, but it's making other jobs for other people, right?
Well,
you take one, you give one.
Exactly. So that's what interesting thought is, like, the way cinematic industry is getting changed. It transforms all the business. VR is getting into all the business. With this very interesting second thing, everyone is talking these days is about getting into space. After Elon and Bezos, everyone wants to get into the space and want to learn what's happening. So what do you think? Where does VR plays vital role in space knowledge or spaceology knowledge? What is, I don't know the term, but you'd be the right person to comment on it.
Yeah, I mean, space tech is booming right now. We are seeing private players, we are seeing SpaceX being happening. I'm very happy to see that in my lifetime. Privatization of space is happening. And so is the case with virtual reality. So what is happening, I'll state one example that we have made for Indian Space Research Organization. So the application goes that you have satellite data of different celestial bodies, Mars, Moon and Earth, to name a few. And that data was earlier read in 2D. You have planet level data, but you are viewing that in 2D. We found that very inefficient, right? So what we made was, convert that data into a virtual reality experience directly. What does that mean is scientists who are looking at the data can essentially visit the other planet or visit anywhere on the Earth with just a pair of headset. Also, we have added a remote functionality to it and collaborative functionality to it. What does that mean is, if let's say you are a scientist here in India and there's some other scientist in UK or US or somewhere, and all of those scientists can come together in a virtual space and visit a totally different planet and plan things accordingly. So it's a very enabling tool, it's very fun tool to work with, and it also has real applications.
This is very interesting. Let me allow me to deviate a little bit. So you're trying to say we can have a virtual parties happening with the VR glasses.
Totally,
can you say that?
Totally. You can play Among Us with your friends in virtual reality right now.
So, can we see the future Zoom call will be in the VR?
Yes, it is happening. There are a lot of applications wherein you don't even need special hardware. You can just use your webcam and get 2D cutouts. So the bokeh effect that you see right now, the background blur effect that you see right now is one step closer to what VR is going to be. And yes, Microsoft HoloLens and few other companies also doing virtual reality applications wherein you can virtually visit your colleagues or friends or whatever.
But isn't it amazing that these technologies are doing so amazing in the business, but what is the acceptance rate? I mean, if normal users cannot afford this technology, then do we need this technology, or is this an affordable technology? How do you face or answer this thing?
That's a very valid question. So what happens is any technology at its initial phase is not affordable. Technology needs iterations. It needs to be engineered, and then it goes to the masses. Then masses revert back. What happens is people use the technology, and then technology evolves, and then it eventually becomes cheaper. Right now we are at phase 2, according to me. We have surpassed the phase 1 of the technology, wherein we got the first prototype of VR headsets, Oculus 1, DK1, DK2. We had our first batches of consumer grade Oculus headsets, which is Oculus Go, which is discarded now. We have Oculus Quest 2, which is Gen 3 of Oculuses, right? So we have at least second or third gen headsets now. They are way cheaper than what they used to be earlier, and plus the computational power inside of your handheld smartphone, handheld computer, as I say, is exponentially. I mean, Moore's law, right? It's growing at an exponential rate. So I think I see a future wherein the VR industry, the VR headsets, and the technology around it, it's becoming very accessible.
So true, Vivek. I'm in complete agreement with your thought that it requires the engineering part and the iterations to enhance the complete experience of consumers, users, and the business altogether. Whereas the transformation is the only one thing which I think is going to be consistent in the business altogether.
True.
Right. But after talking about cinematic industry and space industry, I think the more adoption rate of VR would be in the healthcare sector. Any specific use case which you want to highlight our people audience out there?
A great example comes to my mind wherein I spoke about remote accessibility through VR, right? You could remotely visit a different place. One good use case happened in United States of America, wherein a doctor in North America operated on a patient in South America through VR headset. It was a real surgery. He practiced obviously before, but you understand the depth of this, right? You can totally eliminate the need of traveling, or rather transporting a skilled doctor or a skilled surgeon from one place to other. You could just have a VR headset on and operate through robots in a totally different location, and that has been happening right now.
I mean, so can we see this? The doctors can operate patients from one location to other in simple terms?
Yes.
And can we trust on those machines?
It's
very important, Vivek,
yes.
sorry to cut you, but for me it's quite exciting to understand giving out my human body, my one life to a machine, which is in these days, let's hope there's no network and the machine forgets the connection and then he does it whatever comes in his own head, mind, whatever, which machine doesn't have it. So how do you reciprocate this?
I get this. I understand where this fear, where this stigma comes from. Skynet is what we fear eventually. Terminator we have all seen. I understand. But that is a concern with a different part of technology, which is AI, artificial intelligence. VR and the use case that I spoke of is just passive machines. They are not smart. They are not anything. They are just replicating what you are doing. So it is essentially motors that are taking information from what you are doing and they are translating. Because it is far through the internet, if it was closer, you could mechanically transfer the data that you are doing. So those machines, I don't think technically they are possible of being self-aware somewhere down.
So there's no such harmful thing going to happen in future.
Yes.
Like the concept like a robot or iRobot concepts.
That could happen with a different technology, again artificial intelligence, but that's a different talk altogether.
Yeah, that's completely. One last question to wrap it up, Vivek. What is your take? How VR has changed the complete COVID scenario? It's been 2 years now, almost 2 years, and it's impacted the whole world. It's not about our nation. It's about the whole world. It's impacted. Because every business they transformed itself in digital. But what happened to VR? Did you see a growth in VR adoption in this complete COVID period?
Yeah, I mean, sadly, yes, it's a good and a bad thing that COVID happened, and lots of people lost their jobs and lost their properties and everything. But this has brought some light into what VR is capable of, right? People have been doing Zoom calls now. People have been virtually being present in spaces, and people want to be more present. Like just instead of just having a 2D representation of what your friend looked like or what your colleague looked like, why not have a VR headset? Why not put it on and then virtually visit a place altogether? So I guess COVID has helped to spread awareness of what VR is and what it is capable of. And to shed some light on that, I'll share one example that we have made for Aditya Birla, one use case that we have made for Aditya Birla, wherein since it is a large group, since it is a conglomerate, we have made an HR induction wherein you get introduced to the group But the induction is not a typical PPT boring induction, right? It's a VR experience wherein you get to live a life of a person, and how that life, how his day goes along, and how his life is affected with Aditya Birla at each and every step. So what happens in the story is, he wakes up, he receives a call, he gets a call early morning on the smartphone, and that call has been possible with Idea. Idea was earlier part of Aditya Birla Group. Now it's not, but we made it then, and then Aditya Birla as a telecom business was showed in the smartphone example. Then he goes to his garage, then he goes to his wardrobe, and then he sees other sub brands like Van Heusen and everything, Alan Solly, all the sub brands that associate with Aditya Birla Group. You get to see that in his wardrobe. Then aluminum use cases and carbon fiber use cases in his garage, in his car, and then he drives to his office through the ceiling, and that ceiling is made with Ultratech cement, which is again Aditya Birla. There's also aluminum used, a very fun interesting fact, aluminum is used in your toothpaste, not for the packaging only, it is also used inside of your toothpaste. So that is again an Aditya Birla product.
So I think this complete experience of any new joinee in the Aditya Birla will get to know. So wow, such a correct implementation of VR, for someone to quickly understand, grab what's happening, what are we part of it. I think, and however, I believe in one thing, the visual creates a good amount of memory space in a user's head, right? If you give me something to read, I might remember for 5 minutes, I'll forget. But if you give me something to visualize, that's where the long memory goes in, right? So one last wrap it up to question would be, how much VR helps to increase the memory space of an individual? Does it or does it not?
Again, great question, and studies have proven that we are visual learners. Remembrance rate of what you have read and what you have heard versus what you have seen and experienced. The visual memory works the most efficient, right? So if you see something, if you see a concept, so let's say I explain you what an atom looks like, the classical model of atom, wherein you have a nucleus, you have protons and neutrons, and then you have electrons around it. This doesn't create an image inside of your mind. What if I show you what it looks like? I mean, I know it's not technically accurate now, but what if I show you the model? What if I show you the solar system? What if I show you the rocket engine functioning in front of you? You'll obviously remember that, and that is what AR and VR enables you. Virtual reality essentially takes you to a place and you can experience the experience there itself.
So very well said. By this talk, it takes me to my school days, and I feel like I want to go back and learn science and geography once again. I know it's not possible, but such a good note to close it out, and it was really amazing talk with you, Vivek, for VR, and I got to learn something new, how VR is going to change the complete aspects of the industry. And very primarily, I am looking forward that Bollywood soon starts implementing VR,
It's happening. It might surprise you. It's happening. There's a music video that recently came out. It was made inside of Unreal Engine. It was by a famous pop star, Badshah, if you know, and that was totally made inside of a game engine in real time.
Wow.
That is happening.
That's amazing that we are moving towards the future. The next gen is not the next; it's a current gen now.
It's a current gen now.
Thank you so much, Vivek. Amazing, nice talk with you. Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, hope you guys like this session, and if you have any doubts, just mention them in the comments below, and please don't forget to like and share. Great, thank you.